What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Stay Hot live stream. I'm Blaiden Kirk, of course, joined by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spinauer and Theo Ash. Matt and I are both home for Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving. And Theo, I don't know if you're still staying home or if you went back to Flagstaff. But
It'd be so funny if you went home for the weekend before Thanksgiving and then left before Thanksgiving.
I don't know if you had
Oh, my
something.
room in
I don't know if you had
Flagstaff?
something to do.
No, I'll be home for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I'll be home for Thanksgiving. I am.
That
That's
would
why
be
I'm-
really funny though.
Oh, we'll see you.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I'm here. Been here since Wednesday,
Okay.
obviously. But yeah.
How was that Packers game? Like, I know you obviously the loss wasn't great, but just the experience of being there. You haven't been to it.
I haven't been to
in a while.
Lambeau since 2018, so it was great to be back. I had a really good time, even though the Packers lost. It's nice to see the game live. I hate the broadcast angle, as I think everybody knows, and it's nice to just be able to see all players. And I watch so much all 22, and to see it all unfolding in front of you, and I know what
Yeah.
you're doing. I know what's happening
It's
here,
so
and then
it really is so hard to even tell sometimes what coverage the defense is in because the safeties will be cut off from the screen.
yeah. I mean, even live, it's tough to tell, but you can choose what to focus on.
Yeah.
You can choose,
Right.
I'm gonna watch the safeties on this play. I can watch this specific matchup, and you can choose the most interesting thing. And I enjoy doing that, and the people around us were actually very funny. I give Lambeau shit for being boring, and a little. There can be some older people there who don't really get into it, but in this game there was actually quite the charismatic crowd around us who were just talking. There, the one guy next to me was a Viking fan who came with his Packer fan wife. And this was this drunk dude wearing a Donovan McNabb Vikings jersey next to
Sweet.
me, which I totally forgot happened. Donovan McNabb, why do you own that? Why do you bring that? And people were just giving him so much shit the whole time. There were some
Really?
Titans fans around him. No one said anything to the Titans fans, even when the Packers scored. They would just turn right around to the Viking fan and start doing the skull chant, and just telling him how he'll never win a ring or never have won a ring, and they suck and they're overrated. As soon as the Packers scored, it was no shit talking to the Titans fan, only to that one Vikings fan, which I thought was funny. And it was a good time for sure.
Sometimes I forget that fan base rivalries exist outside of Browns, Steelers, and
The NFL
Yeah,
does
there are
not have
others.
enough of them.
There are others.
but well, there was some
No.
football that happened in the past couple of days. I mean,
I actually did not catch the Monday night game whatsoever.
I caught
So
the fourth.
if you guys
quarter
want to
of it.
talk about it, go ahead.
Caught the
Looked like a
fourth
horrible
quarter of
game.
it.
Looked like the
Yeah,
Cardinals suck.
Yeah, they're ass, sadly. Most important thing from the Cardinals game was the pregame. ESPN is I'm sorry if this ruins my chances of ever getting an ESPN job, but they just need to they should hire me because they just need better people. It's truly ridiculous the incompetence
analyzing the game,
of their analysts.
Okay.
Oh my god, I've never seen any player get as much shit as Kyler Murray did before they started that game, because Colt McCoy was starting and they loved them some Colt McCoy. A legitimate take from this squad, and I don't know who on the team said it. It could be any host. It could be any number of their guys who are capable of having a take like this, but they showed Kyler yelling at the coaches, as he does, calling you need to calm down. Yelled that at Cliff, and one of them said, this preseason they made Kyler call the plays, and I think they need to go a step further. They need to make him install the offense and make the game plan every week.
Theo, you cut out, but
I like player coach Kyler Murray. I think that's a funny concept.
That's hilarious. I think it'd be really funny if they had Kyler do that and the offense was just better.
I think the odds of that would be incredibly low. Well, we lost Theo, so hopefully he'll come back here in a second. I don't see him on. Oh, never mind.
Oh my god!
I think I don't know what point in my rant
now. Okay, so now Matt and Theo switched on. God damn it!
It is what it is. But yeah, ESPN was just really laying into Kyler Murray. They said that, you know, he called plays during the preseason, and to really learn his lesson, he needs to install the offense.
I fixed it. What the fuck?
He needs to install the offense every week while he's hurt to learn his lesson about how hard it is to coach, so he stops yelling at Kyler. That was legitimately what they were saying. He needs to install the offense. Like, what are you guys talking about?
I don't know. I think with broadcast, here's always been my take about that. I think that the actual analysis of it, like big programs like ESPN and them, like, it's just not their number one concern. Their number one concern is people who are good at the actual like broadcast and getting up there and talking, and that there's people out there who can analyze better than them, but they're like their number one priority is people who can go up there and talk well and get through that broadcast well. I think that's the hard part. But I almost wonder if they should just pre-record the intro to the thing, if it's like by a couple hours, and then slice it up really nice. And if someone messes up or like doesn't speak well, you know, okay, you can kind of cut that out and post and then put it up, because you don't really need to do it right as it's happening. But I agree. Right. Analysis on sports show is terrible.
It's terrible. And it's true, like, you know, a bunch of people like really getting into the nitty-gritty of the granular details of sports is never gonna do well unless they're like crazy. God damn it. I keep freezing.
We can still hear you.
Yeah, you're good. Keep rolling, Theo. You're cooking.
No, we can't. If you're talking.
Now
you're back. This is brutal.
My Wi-Fi is unstable.
It's that home Wi-Fi, man. It's not great.
Theo's going to go through a list of things he's thankful for. Wi-Fi will not be one of them.
Wi-Fi will not.
But
yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's never going to be the people who really break down the game in granular detail who's going to get mainstream success. But it would be nice to like exhibit some common sense sometimes. Like, no, Kyler shouldn't be the head coach to teach him a lesson about ever arguing with the head coach. That is not the take.
Right.
You can and yeah, they were just dick riding Colt McCoy to an extent. Like, this offense is just so much better with him not freestyling. And it's like, well, then the offense just was ass in this game outside of like one Greg Dortch screen. So yeah, it was a really weird interaction, and it was a weird pregame show. And they had analysis on Kelsey and Mahomes, and like you were talking about, Matt, like a lot of the ESPN guys, like they speak confidently and clearly and all that, but like they had this whole section on Kelsey that they were tripping over their words and like mumbling, and it was really bad in that area too. I tweeted last night, this is just an insane pregame show because they kept messing up and saying crazy things. It's like, this is why I never watch ESPN. And I haven't watched an ESPN show in a really long time. So, you know, I don't know if it's like that all the time, but it's just so much. It's a substantially worse product right now than what's getting put on NBC and Fox and CBS on Sundays.
What were they saying? What were they saying about Kelsey? Was it positive?
Well, they were just like, well, when Kelsey, you know, in a gotta have it situation in man coverage, who do they go to? Kelsey. And like they're showing the screen and the plays, and he's not throwing it to Kelsey. They're like, here they go, here comes Kelsey, and then they threw it to someone else, and they're like, well, maybe the next one will be Kelsey, and then it wasn't Kelsey again. He's like, well, not that time either, but then the Kelsey caught the last one. He's like, but there on the then there it's Kelsey. It's like, did you not watch this package before you were like, oh, here comes, they got to throw it to Kelsey. When money downs, they go to Kelsey.
I mean, that is a correct thing to say. Like, they do go to Kelsey on money downs, but like to not have the footage match what you're saying is
Right.
is
It was
crazy.
just yeah. So it almost it just feels very Disney owns it. That's all I got.
Get this Marvel pregame show out of here, man.
Right.
No, I think we're starting to, not to change the subject too much, unless you guys had anything else to say about that.
No, I don't have anything else to say besides Disney owns it, and sometimes it kind of feels like Disney owns it. It feels like it's like a roller coaster ride or something. Like, oh, we're gonna look at our graphics, look at our Come On Man segment, look at our like
Yeah.
Adam Schefter like taking his shirt off and hula hooping. Like, okay.
Oh man, we don't want to see that.
Hey, speak for yourself, man. Matt, you have to feel pretty justified after Justin Herbert's disaster class at the end of the Chiefs Chargers game.
I'm never that serious about it,
I
because
know, I
I
know.
do know Herbert is like great, and it's just not working out for him this season. But playing the role of like, well, he's just not winning, he sucks, is always fun. I just love doing that.
Busting
It's just so
Herbum,
funny
man.
to me. Right, like
It's so funny because he had the crazy throw to Keenan Allen up the right sideline, just a monster throw to put them ahead with like a minute 37 left, and like this game-winning drive to put them up with not much time left, and then the defense completely folds, and then he gets the ball back with like 30 seconds left. They're like, well, he may have scored that, but he's got to. Okay, well, that one doesn't mean anything anymore. He's got to go out and score again, which of course he didn't. And on that play, like that play that he threw the pick, like Chris Jones, I mean, both the plays, really, the sack and the pick, Chris Jones just eviscerated the line. And like he was forced to like fade away off of his back foot. And it's like, well,
what are you gonna do?
I don't know if I blame Herbert here or Chris Jones is just like that. But
that is like pressure up the middle. It has to be so hard to deal with as a quarterback.
Yeah, it's not great. Yeah.
You know, talking a little bit about Travis Kelce, actually, we're not quite there yet, but we are entering the era of where Kelsey versus Gronk will be debated.
Oh, I mean, Gronk was trending on Twitter yesterday.
It's only going to get worse, right? Like at this point, it's hard, but Kelsey is playing some of his best football ever. And if he keeps doing this for 2-3 more years, the debate, like as of right now, it's pretty confidently like, Gronk is better. But in 2 or 3 years, if he keeps playing at this level, it's going to be a real decision. And I'm definitely on Team Gronk, even as a Cincinnati Bearcats fan and a Kelsey respecter.
Yeah.
But I think there's a world where, I mean, and this is pretty tough projection, where Kelsey just does it for so long that he gets into that debate on the longevity. Because right now he's on like his 7th or 8th straight All-Pro season. He is on a great, like his career has been unbelievable. He's gonna
have like 1,600 receiving yards and like 18 touchdowns this year. It's gonna be.
Is he really on pace for that?
Yeah.
Like he is gonna end up like this is gonna be like the 3rd time he's broken this record. He is up there. I agree that prime Gronk, because of the blocking, is better. And I think that Gronk will always have the edge because his yards after catch just look way cooler because he breaks tackles. But Kelsey's yards after catch is really cool too, but he just kind of like runs where he needs to be, and that's never as good, I'm afraid.
He's not, putting you in the dirt the way Gronk would, but
yeah, he's not.
I don't know.
I think it could be like almost like a Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith type of conversation where I think Gronk at his peak is just one of the best players I've ever seen, like point blank period. He just was a completely dominant physical force that no one could ever stop. He's an extra tackle out there. He's more physical than everyone. He'll outmuscle everyone. He'll run over everyone. And he was fast. And he was a good route. He was just Gronk at his peak is like one of the probably 5 greatest football players I think I've ever seen, with like Donald and like Mahomes and The list is not that long. But like Kelsey, it'll get to the point where it's like who had the better career and who would you rather have when all things considered with length of their prime and how often they were available. Like Kelsey at the end of the day would offer more value from the beginning of his career to the end of his career. Like that's probably the point we're going to get to, but I would always like Gronk is probably one that I'm always going to be like,
yeah, no, I get it.
I saw it happen.
It's
like,
gonna
I'll
be
a grumpy
like,
old guy waving my cane.
It's like
with,
Tony Gonzalez. Like people were like Tony Gonzalez goat tight end for like I don't even know how for like all of the 21st century until Gronk like completely took over.
And I never really watched Tony, so I can't really say with Gonzalez like how if he's closer to Gronk or Kelsey or whatever. But what if Kelsey had the angle? Honestly, he probably had a better. I mean, you can't take a worse angle than Gronk took on that play. But yeah, I think it's definitely like the value they added in their careers. I still, when I say it's easily Gronk, I don't think Gronk was like in a totally different tier than Kelsey. But I would easily like. I'm very comfortable putting Gronk above him. It's not like that far above him, but it's above him, and I'm very comfortable saying that at this point.
If it gets to the point where he's got like 8 or 9 all pros and he's got the tight end receiving yards record, and I went to Cincinnati and he went to Cincinnati, I'm afraid that's gonna do it for me. I don't care.
Yeah,
he is.
Did he graduate from Cincinnati? That's the real question.
It does not matter to me. He talks about Cincinnati all the time. He's big time Cincinnati guy. So
he's a great ambassador to the.
He is. He really is. I think it's been big for recruiting. He really pushes for that stuff. So I love him. And I saw someone saying that Mahomes made Travis Kelce, which it's so or it's like he's like kind of a Travis Kelce merchant, which is so funny because like Rob Gronkowski had a pretty good quarterback too, and B it's like. Does that happen? Well, this guy is a 5-time All-Pro because of his quarterback, and that's it. It's like that's
right. I think there are definitely players who are much better because of their quarterback, and I mean as a Packers fan, I've seen guys leave Rodgers and come back, but it's not like Rodgers can just make anyone like that. It's not like. Would Jordy Nelson, would he have had as good of a career as he had if he played his whole career in Oakland? No. But he also was like a damn good receiver, and it's never a one-way street. No quarterback makes a really like even prime Cam. Like Ted Ginn, he put up good numbers with Cam, or Kelvin Benjamin put up good numbers with Cam. Like that's kind of what a someone who gets made by a wide receiver quarterback look like. They don't look like Travis. No one was making Kelvin Benjamin all pro. It's like, all of a sudden they can squeeze out an 1,000-yard season out of someone, but no one can just make a. I mean, yeah, it's
I would say I agree with Ted Ginn. He had a very nice season with Cam. Kelvin Benjamin didn't even really have a nice season. He just put up a bunch of yards because Cam Newton absolutely had to throw to somebody. He had 1,000 yards on 150 targets, which is just not good. And he was really never any good.
Yeah, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You can tell. You can tell when a guy is good or not, even if he's putting up crazy number or not even crazy numbers. In Benjamin's case, is if you watch the film, like yes. Kelsey is good, and maybe like obviously playing with a great quarterback raises your ceiling, and playing in a great offense raises your ceiling. But you can't really take away from that because it's also true of Mahomes to Kelsey, right? Like it's a two-way street. So
right,
yeah.
I don't know.
Kelsey would be.
What about Kittle?
Oh, go ahead. I was reading a comment. They're saying that Kittle would be closer to Gronk than Kelsey if he was an actual tight end and not a left tackle. Nope. Sorry, man.
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. Yeah. Well, I do not care if his situation stinks and they make him block 90% of snaps, and then it's Jimmy Garoppolo throwing to him when he doesn't. Kelsey better, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, the Kelsey Kittle debate was always kind of funny because I don't know if it was like it was a debate.
Yeah,
for
Kelsey was awesome that one year. I mean, there was a year where or Kittle. I mean, there was a year where Kittle was like the leader in receiving yards, and he blocked like crazy. And you could say, yeah, he had a better year than Kelsey. But
if you
then the 49ers stopped doing that, and
Kittle has 24 career touchdowns.
Yeah, it's just I'm sorry, man.
Kelsey, you got it. I think at his peak, Kittle may have been the more complete player, but to say he would have been he's always I mean, he's definitely closer to Gronk almost stylistically than anyone else, but he's not quite as good as Gronk. Blaiden, why is your ceiling so short? That's a wonderful point by this guy in the comments.
It's in the basement.
It's like a 7-foot ceiling.
It's in the basement.
Yeah. Oh, it's in the basement. Okay.
Yeah. It's my childhood bedroom in the basement with my twin-sized bed. And
twin bed?
Yeah.
That's rough. I like how the back of your childhood bedroom looks almost identical to your dorm.
It's true.
Background. It looks like the same with different pieces, but it's structured the exact same way.
I don't get it.
The Kelsey brothers, the best sibling duo ever? Probably not. But they're up there. They're
the Watts to me are probably number one.
They're both defensive players of the year, and it's I mean, Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. The problem is that they don't play positions that would ever quite get that level of recognition. They would have to be so. It's Jason Kelce's a center, and he's been one of the best centers in the league for a long time. But what are you going to win there? MVP,
right.
Offensive Player of the Year? No. And same with Kelsey, tight end. It's possible for him, but now he plays with Mahomes. So.
Hey, Kelsey could win Offensive Player of the Year
if he gets that
second one time. I think
he was second. What year was that?
I don't know. It's pretty close. To me, I honestly think J.J. Watt at his peak was better than either Kelsey or his brother TJ. I think peak J.J. Watt kind of gets forgotten about with just he was getting MVP votes in his prime as a defensive end, which is pretty nuts. He was next level good, and TJ is getting up there, and TJ's incredible and probably would win Defensive Player of the Year again this year if he was healthy the entire season. But I think JJ getting MVP votes at defensive end puts his and just kind of his general dominance puts JJ better than either of the Kelseys or his brother, and TJ's just as good as both of them. So yeah, I have Watts as I have the Watts as the better brother duo, but it's crazy how many good ones there are.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Diggs too.
Yeah.
Nick and Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
They never play. It sucks, man. They have been injury prone forever.
Yeah.
It's something in the family, man. But they're insane. Nick Bosa is so good.
Nick Bosa is incredible.
All right, so here's Travis Kelce for you. Has 855 yards, which is on pace for about 1,450. So maybe not quite high enough.
He'll be first team All Pro, but he just does not have an argument over Tyreek.
Yeah, he has 11 touchdowns so far, which leads the league. That's pretty crazy.
He's sweet.
I didn't. Devontae has over 900 yards and 10 touchdowns this year. He's kind of cooking.
He's not bad.
He's kind of cooking. I don't know, but came for the podcast, staying for the typing ASMR. Oh, could y'all hear my typing? That's on me. I'm a terrible person.
Yes, maybe my argument will be that Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce are the best brother duo ever, because JJ Watt and TJ Watt are actually three brothers with Derek Watt, and therefore do not count and are disqualified.
Derek Watt, if you average them out with Derek, he weighs them down significantly and therefore makes, on average,
Where does Derek Watt rank among fullbacks?
How many fullbacks are there legitimately in the NFL right now?
I don't know.
16, 15? I have no idea.
That many? You think so?
It's kind of hard to tell. He's like,
would it be like
None of them
Kyle
play.
Juszczyk?
There's Juszczyk. There's
guy for the Bills.
Ricard, there's the guy on the Bears, number 32, who I've watched because I'm making my Justin Fields video. The one thing, if we're talking brother duos, though, one more thing. The Mannings still might have it.
Oh. No, but they have another one too.
They've got Cooper. Cooper never played in the league.
This is how we win.
What about when Arch gets to the league? Does he count?
No, well, he's not. He's not part of that.
The brother duo.
Oh, okay.
They may still, because Peyton is such an all-timer. But I wonder if that's quarterback
Peyton
bias.
is a five-time MVP, 7-time first-team All-Pro.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Which is like he is the most. I mean, he has more accolades than any other player, more than Brady even. But Eli has 2 rings, but Eli was not at the level that either of the Kelseys are at.
So we're talking between the Manning brothers, we've got 4 rings, 5 MVPs. How many All-Pros did Eli have? Any?
Maybe
All-Pros?
1 in 2011.
No. There's no way he ever made an All-Pro team.
Okay. I thought he maybe made one in 2011. I could be totally wrong.
So what?
That'd be crazy if he made it with no All-Pros, though.
It would be crazy. Who's the most attractive long snapper? That's a great question, guys. That's really the questions that we should be asking. I'll make my ranking quiz for long snappers, and you guys can go and vote on that.
Eli Manning would be called a Kirk Cousins if he were in the NFL today. Yes. Less of a bozo gene, though, because he did win 2 rings. But, yes. What else? What else is there to talk about?
Not forgetting the Mahomes brothers.
I haven't heard much Mahomes dialogue. Last year it got really bad with Jackson and his wife and all that. People just could not shut up about them. But this year I haven't really heard anything about Mahomes' family, which is good because that dialogue sucked.
Weird stuff.
Extremely weird. Thoughts on Dan Orlovsky saying Justin Fields is an MVP candidate? I'm making my all-22 on Justin Fields and what I think the Bears are going to do next year to maximize him. And watching Justin Fields, I can say that he is not an MVP candidate.
You cannot consistently do things that jeopardize your team's chances of winning.
The team has, 3 wins? No, without him, they would probably have, 2.
Right.
Right, he
does some cool stuff.
Not as valuable to his team as Mahomes, sadly.
He does a lot of cool stuff, but
he's good. He is. I mean, his rushing ability really adds a lot to this offense, but he is not MVP of the league, sadly.
I think it's going to be really funny if the Bears finish 3-14. And all the Bears fans, they were like, apologize to the Bears. You said they were only going to win 2 games.
That would be crazy.
That would be crazy, man. Is Bryce Young's size a big deal? I don't think it is that big of a deal.
Oh, it totally is. I disagree so much for several reasons. Number 1, there's always questions about whether or not you can throw over the middle of the field when you're that small. Number 2, he is tiny. He is not 200 pounds, and yes, that's a huge concern. I think
Kyler is hurt all the time. Kyler gets hurt every single season, right? He's just a small dude. And Kyler, like I said in my Bryce Young video, which is really done well. Go check that out if you haven't. I'm trying to get that. That's very close to becoming the most watched Stay Hot video. Which is, but as I point out in that video, Kyler and Russ, both short quarterbacks, so they're built, right? They're just thick. They're big, sturdy dudes. And Bryce is not only is he small, he is skinny too. So there is a very good chance that he is dealing with injuries throughout his career. Zach Wilson is another skinny quarterback who's picked up injuries and missed chunks of both last season and this year. Like skinny quarterbacks, skinny small quarterbacks, they can get hurt. They can get hurt. So yes, it is a big deal. If he was 6'6" and crazy and had all the same skill set, the same arm, the same poise, the same, I really wouldn't have that many concerns with him. But he's not. So
I would want to know though, like the frequency at which like Bryce Young takes hits compared to guys like Russ and Kyler. Because that's the thing that you're worried about is like, yeah, he's small, but as a quarterback, you can do a pretty good job of avoiding contact.
Is there anyone in the NFL who does that, who's like a small quarterback, but takes so few hits that they just never get injured?
maybe Breeze.
It's not a bad one.
Yeah.
But I think Bryce, he doesn't like run himself into trouble a whole bunch. But regardless, I mean, look, if he was on the Panthers, this would be a different story. He'd have a fantastic offensive line and, yada, yada, yada. But
yeah,
I think it's a big concern. I'm very invested in this quarterback draft class, and I don't really feel the more you think about it, the worse you feel about him, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that it's going to go quarterback. I think that this might look a little bit more like the 2020 class where Fields fell to like Fields and Jones got picked in the 10s, right? I think that could be where these guys get taken is closer in the. I don't know if there's a number 1 overall pick in this class. Caleb Williams, you watch Caleb Williams, that's the guy where you're like, yep, number 1 overall pick. That guy's big. He has a crazy arm. He's super creative, accurate, smart. Like that is your generational quarterback. Like that is your guy where it's like, yep, that's everything you are looking for. Young gets close, but he is too small.
If it wasn't for this size, but like if a team picks him number 1 overall because they need a quarterback, I think he's an acceptable because of the positional value.
Yeah, he's
outside of that.
I don't know. I just think about like Lamar everyone was like, oh well, he runs too much, he's gonna get hurt. And people didn't think Lamar was particularly big, but Lamar is a decent size, 6'2", and he's like 220 or something.
Lamar also really does it. Like Lamar is up there in terms of like not taking hits while running.
He's like the best in the league at it.
He's considerably bigger. I don't know. I'll be interested to see. I mean, this is a huge weekend for CJ Stroud. Yeah. This is the most pressure he's going to go into a game with unless he ever makes a Super Bowl. It will never be bigger than this. He is playing for all of the money to beat Michigan, to make the playoffs, and the Heisman.
And he's struggled these past couple of weeks. I mean, I know Ohio State has put up like 50 points a game, and it's funny to say like he's struggled, but really there has been, nits to pick in his game and moments where it's like, yep, that's what you're worried about. There's been moments like that, I think, in every single game since over the past couple of weeks with Stroud, which, if you're playing in that system with that offense, like there just kind of shouldn't be those moments. Yeah. There shouldn't be any moments of doubt. You should just be like knocking it out of the park every single weekend if you're like truly that dude. So like I do think people have cooled on him a little bit over these past couple of weeks, but he could, with a big showing in Michigan, I mean, yeah.
It's
I think we can all imagine what the hype machine would look like if he just eviscerates Michigan and what that game means.
And here's he goes crazy this game. Probably the favorite to be Heisman at that point.
I have no idea who it's going to be at this point. They're just going to give it to whichever quarterback has the best counting stats. They just don't know any way to do it. Caleb Williams has a very good shot at it. Yeah. But he must win his conference. He must do it, I would guess. He is not so far ahead of everybody else stats-wise, and they play Notre Dame, and then they'll play Oregon. And I like them of those games. I don't think they should be dogs in either, but college football at times is about, it's hard to do it 3 times in a row and then that type of stuff. And they just barely squeaked by UCLA. So they've got a very challenging stretch. But the thing with Stroud that makes him not his archetype not work, I've been thinking about this today. His pocket presence isn't great, okay. And like he's not that mobile, okay, but he's super accurate and his anticipation is great. That would work if he got the ball out quicker, but he doesn't get the ball out that quick. And you could argue that maybe that's on Ryan Day, but he just like it's too many plays run on too long, and that's not his strength. And he's got such good receivers; it just doesn't need to be like that. And I wonder. I guess I'd have to go back and really, really watch. But is it more of like a Bengals thing where they're just trying? They're like, well, we have Marvin Harrison and Mbuka and Fleming and JSN, so we're going to be just throwing the bomb no matter what. Or is it like he just does not want to get the ball out that early?
I would guess more of the first thing. Stroud doesn't really seem like a quarterback who would have any problem. Like, he doesn't really seem like he wants to be this crazy playmaker. So I would guess more of the first thing. But yeah, he's just in that Mac Jones Goff. He's somewhere like he's in that kind of tier of quarterback to me. And Geno is the guy I compare him to. Like Geno plays with insane confidence and poise at this point in his career. Like Geno Smith is playing better football than like anyone in the league right now. I mean, He is, they wrote me off. I ain't right back though. And he is just playing with this massive chip on his shoulder and just this unwavering confidence, which matters. And it's like Stroud coming into the league is not going to be playing with that much swag. He's not going to be playing. Geno sat in Seattle for years and years and years. He's finally getting his chance. He knows everything well. He's a veteran. Like that to me is almost the catalyst of his success, is like the amount of he's just extremely comfortable in his situation. And Stroud is going to be a rookie, a younger player in a completely new situation, in a worse situation. Like, it's hard to be Geno if you take away a lot of the, Geno's playing with house money, right? He's playing no one expected. He's playing with house money. He's playing in a place he's very comfortable.
Yeah.
You're going to take a little bit away. Stroud. Like, well, what would Geno look like if he had massive expectations and wasn't really feeling himself? That's kind of what Stroud is. So, like, well, what's that going to look like? It's going to look like Mac Jones right now, in who doesn't have the craziest arm, but he's crazy accurate, and you could hypothetically someone who's an amazing pure thrower of the football. Like, that's Mac Jones. So look like Mac Jones this season, which is bad if he lands in a spot where he's not comfortable. If he lands in a spot where he is comfortable, it's like Mac Jones' rookie season or Geno Smith right now. And that's good. So it really comes down to
Detroit could be really
situation.
Nice.
It could be.
Right. I mean, the only thing is like maybe they don't want to go from like system guy to system guy with Goff to Stroud.
But I really have no idea. I think there's a huge quarterback problem coming up this offseason for these teams. There's just not enough guys out there. There just isn't. And I think it's not going to lead to like Levis and Hendon Hooker getting picked in like the top 10. It's going to lead to like the real like tier 3 prospects getting picked a little bit higher than you expect. Someone is going to pick like Penix and Bo Nix. Those guys have to be taken seriously and at least looked at seriously, because that many teams need quarterbacks. Now, even more true with Hendon Hooker out. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know. Texans go Bryce Young at 1. How do the rest of the quarterbacks fill out? Lions have to take a QB. They have no choice. We can't hear you, Theo.
Yeah, we lost the Osh. It's okay though.
I don't have much of a grip on Stroud's personality. I always think he looks sheepish, but that just might be the way his face looks.
I think when it comes down to the personality stuff, I think it really just depends on like how cool you are and able to handle the pressure, and he's just not that good at it. He just does not have the tools to run out of the back of the pocket, and he doesn't have the calmness to step up into it consistently enough. There are some times he's not so bad at it. Like there's definitely levels
His sack
to it.
rate is pretty low. That's kind of the one thing I would
He is willing to stand in there, and that is a big thing for him. So there is a world where it's like, let me go to a team with a very nice offensive line and an offensive coordinator who's like, we're going to run a lot of play action. We're going to get the ball out very quickly. Otherwise, and yes, it'll work, but I don't love him. I think he can be successful and be really consistent in a good situation, and that's not something that you can say about everybody. And he'll keep everything open to you. And I think the term game manager actually means that like you're like a top 16 quarterback. I think he can do that. But I think when the going gets tough and you need him to make a play, he's not that guy, and I wouldn't pick him much higher than 10.
Yeah, I think a team like New York could use a guy like that, where Zach Wilson is not accurate and he makes some boneheaded decisions, and a guy like Stroud could maybe just kind of right the ship a little bit and play some decent football there. I think that could be one if they choose to move off of Wilson. The Jets, like we talked about on the last podcast, like Brady, maybe Carr. I think we ignored the most glaring, like obvious guy to go to New York, which would be Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Probably the most
yeah,
the most obvious.
But then,
pick.
If you're the 49ers, it's like, because here's the problem: if they really like Garoppolo, and they may really like him, it may come down to like a money thing. Because you're not franchise tagging Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And then the Jets could easily outspend the 49ers for Garoppolo before the 49ers tap out and say, well, we got to roll with Lance, and we'll get somebody else to be backup like Minshew or whoever.
Right.
Which is probably what I would do, overpaying Garoppolo big bucks if you're just going to test Lance again. So I think Garoppolo probably is the most likely.
Honestly, the Panthers, like depending on where they pick, I wouldn't want to pick Stroud in the top 5. I think that would be a little bit rich, but that's a good offensive line, and their quarterback situation has just been so ungodly horrible in recent years, where it's like, well, okay, at least there's something there. I mean, since Cam, right, there hasn't been any sort of hope or semblance of decent quarterback play. I mean, Bridgewater, I guess, but
I think Garoppolo in a non-Shanahan like really amazing offense would just not look that good. I just don't think he would. I would so much rather go so much cheaper. If they really don't like any of the quarterbacks, then what they need to do is trade down and get picks for next year, and then say we are going to get Drake May or Ewers or Caleb Williams. Right. We like those guys a lot better than these guys. That's what we're doing. And we're going to go get a guy who I think will at least be, better than Darnold, or just these guys who make horrible mistakes. Get like a Minshew and then give Corral his test run.
Yeah, I was about to say that gives you the shot at Corral.
And it would be a coach's first season, so you can get away with that. The only thing holding them back from doing that is that, A, the team is like, well, do you want to just wait for Caleb Williams? They're not bad enough to do that. This is the problem. No team can pull off that strategy because no team can just like accept being the worst team in the league next year, except for maybe possibly the Texans because their roster is pretty far away. Yeah. But they have the number 1 overall, so it's just like it's just going to be tough. I don't know. I would maybe do that, but how much longer can I wait?
Tanking a year in advance is just not. It's really, even if you're Houston.
Oh, that's true.
Even if you're Houston and you were like, oh man, we love Caleb Williams, we love Drake May, like even if okay, we're gonna draft Will Anderson, we're gonna draft Jalen Carter number 1 overall, like maybe, but it's just tough. It's just tough from a human standpoint to just go into this season with like that little hope. It's really hard, and maybe they will. Maybe they say like, we have our eyes on next year quarterback class, but I can't remember there ever being a time where a team who really needed a quarterback, who needed to turn their franchise around, didn't select one because they liked next year's class better. Like
it's just not a viable strategy.
I don't know if that's what the Browns did. I don't know if that's why they did it, but they did draft Myles Garrett.
That is they did not do that because they liked Baker.
Not because they liked Baker, but maybe they were just like, oh, you know what? There's quarterbacks next year. Let's just take this guy. Let's just take Myles Garrett. And I love Myles Garrett, but I don't know. I feel like the Browns needed a quarterback, and
they liked Kaiser, and he hadn't played at that point. No.
Oh yeah, we did have Kaiser, didn't we?
And you guys spent like a high second on him, so it was a little bit more like, we have to play him at some point.
I forgot
and Baker was like not supposed to be like a first round draft. Like, you're supposed to be like trying.
Darnold was supposed to be the first overall pick at that point.
Darnold was that guy. That's true. But see, the thing is that like that's the way that it works too, where it's like we're sitting here saying that these guys are great, or like last year it was like, oh my God, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are so amazing, and now it's like Bryce Young is pretty good, CJ Stroud is like.
It's just as we get more information. Like, it just changes. Like, shit changes.
Yeah, you definitely look at it with less rose-colored glasses. I'm like, maybe the Lawrence year, because everyone was so excited for Lawrence. You could maybe say the Jaguars. But I'm trying to think. They picked 7th. They went into the season with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback, a 6th-round pick. But I'm trying to think what quarterbacks were left in that draft class. I think they skipped out on Rosen. They skipped out on Lamar. Wait, did they?
I don't know.
They skipped out on Haskins. No, they skipped out on Haskins. And they skipped out on... That's it, just Haskins. So
I guess I didn't go try to grab Daniel Jones. Well, that was a particularly bad quarterback draft class, at least from the outlook of originally. So I think all roads lead to the Panthers starting Corral.
I really disagree with that. I think all roads lead to the Panthers selecting a quarterback in this year's draft class.
Who do you think they would? If it goes Bryce Young 1, you are reaching to the moon. Levis has our guy. Levis is a project who probably has not quite gotten to that 2nd overall range. And Stroud, we think his stock is going to fall. I don't think they're going to do that. And I think it is significantly more likely that Fitterer goes out and tries to find a head coach who is willing to roll with Corral than it is them drafting another head coach for the sake of, or drafting another quarterback for the sake of the head coach. Yeah. Fitterer is playing for his job right now. And I just don't know if he bets it on like a rookie quarterback. I guess,
he'll bet it on a third-round quarterback who went 1 for 9 in the preseason and then, his foot exploded.
So what would you do if you're the Panthers and Bryce Young goes at 1?
I would draft someone still. I would draft Levis.
Who?
I would trade back, and I would draft. I don't know. I don't know, but it would not be Matt Corral. I would not go into the season with any hope for Matt Corral.
I'm trying to think about who would want to trade up at that point, because that's the real question. It's like, I would trade back. Who the hell's trading up, and for what?
I would rather start, and there are backups around the league. I would rather start Drew Lock than Matt Corral. I would rather him be my answer.
Yeah, I don't know if
I would rather Jimmy Garoppolo be my answer.
I disagree. I understand that, but I think
I'd rather Minshew. I would rather Bridgewater bring him back.
No, you cannot possibly bring Bridgewater back to Carolina.
Why not? It's not like Carolina ended with it's not
that they ended on bad terms, but the team stunk with him. You already know what you have with those guys. That's the problem. With Corral, at least there's you don't know what you have yet.
He's a 3rd-round pick. No 3rd-round pick is good.
No quarterback who has already failed out is good. So all those other options like Minshew, he will not work. Drew Lock, he will not work either. Garoppolo is a stopgag, and he's fine for what he is, but he will not work realistically. They do not have a good option this offseason, and the idea of tanking for next year, doesn't work unless you have a ton of draft picks, which they could have. They could have a shot at a super high draft pick if they had traded for Burns or traded Burns away. But their team is too good to try to do that, unfortunately.
The only teams I can
especially if they get a new coach.
The only teams I can think of, they're going to have high enough draft picks or that are that would be willing to trade up to number 2 that need a quarterback.
This is thinking very far into the future, but yeah.
I'm like, maybe Detroit. They have the Rams pick, and that would be number 6 overall, and they have their own pick, which is 13.
So they're gonna trade down
Colts, maybe?
with a team. So they're gonna trade down with a team that also wants a quarterback.
I mean, unless someone's trading up for like Jalen Carter.
Who knows? At this point,
they'll take someone at 2. They're going to take a quarterback at 2. They are going to do that. I'm 100% confident. And even if you don't like it, even if you think Stroud is a reach at 2, if you like a quarterback at pick 15, you got to like him at 2. That's just the rule. Like, if you like him at 15, you got to like him at 2. If you like the guy, if you think he can be a starter in any way, you take the quarterback, right? You take the quarterback.
Or
so
just take Jalen
it might
Carter.
be Stroud at number 2. It might be Levis at number 2. If you think that they're worth taking at 15, you're just taking them. There it is, your guy. You like him. You think you can make something with him. You focus on what they can do rather than what they can't do. And you hire, like, I have no idea who the coaching candidates are, but you hire some assistant from Josh McDaniels, like whoever Josh McDaniels is equivalent, or not Josh McDaniels, Mike McDaniel, whoever Mike McDaniel is, you hire him and you try to make things work. Like we'll just hire a Shanahan guy, a McVay guy. We'll hire whoever. Like, legitimately, that's the way
we fire up the Josh Allen comps to Anthony Richardson. We can get this thing done. Get Anthony Richardson up there, and this would be perfect. Fitterer can buy himself so much time by picking the absolute biggest project quarterback, and then he could still roll Corral out there. And it's like, well, we got Anthony Richardson in the tank. Yes, I see this all coming together. He's Josh Allen. We got to pick him still. Yes.
No, the real solution here, you just take best player available. If you can't trade out of the pick, you just take best player available. If that's a quarterback, fine, right? If you think it's a quarterback, fine. But if Jalen Carter's there, or Will Anderson, and you think he's the best player available, just pull the trigger on him.
I agree with everything with that 100% outside of quarterback.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean,
they're
there's
just not.
I don't see a world in which you can look at Stroud over picking Ohio State quarterback over Georgia defensive lineman. Come on, like what are we doing here? Like, the right choice.
I mean, look at every mock draft. I mean, look at every single.
Oh no, I know the one you sent. That consensus one blew my mind. Stroud second overall, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good chance that Stroud falls a little bit farther than that, but I mean, there's about an equal chance that, all the projections are right and he just gets selected in the top 2. Yeah. Well, really, you should be rooting for a Stroud masterclass the rest of the way. Like, not only as
I understand the real path is that the Texans fall in love with Stroud.
You need the Texans to fall in love with Stroud.
And then you get Bryce
Young.
Sort
of parent trap. Matt, you need some sort of parent trap thing where you somehow convince Jack Easterby that CJ Stroud loves God more than Bryce Young.
That could happen.
Yo,
the Texans could mess it up. They could potentially not take Bryce Young. It's not unthinkable.
Research on CJ Stroud. See if he's God-fearing man.
I'm absolutely sure that the Texans fan base is sold on Bryce Young.
Yes. You need to convince Bryce Young. You need to plant some like pornographic magazines in his car or something.
Well,
and then send it.
And the Texans, they just suck so bad. We have no hope at the number 1 overall pick. They're so much worse than us. It's insane.
That's funny. It's so funny too because the Panthers are literally just the number 2 overall pick right now. It's not like you guys are picking like.
They have to be the one. They have to be the one.
Yeah.
Right.
Dude.
Yeah, actually, yeah. No, the Texans just win. Just start rooting for the Texans to win games.
You need Young to tear his ACL like in the SEC championship game.
Oh, brother.
That's got to be your strategy, Matt. Is you need to Tanya Harding him, and then
all right, I'm gonna go yell at Davis Mills to pull himself together. We got Sam Darnold coming in this week. We can do this thing, guys. Don't give up. We're playing the
Davis
Broncos.
Mills
We're gonna get
has legitimately played so bad. Like Davis was honestly like, you could see the vision a little bit towards the end of last year, and even at the beginning of this year, I thought he was doing like a couple good things. He was hanging in there, and he was accurate, and he wasn't like turning the football over very much. And it's like, well, this is like a journeyman.
Yeah.
Like can win you some games, and then he's just decided to become a complete and total disaster.
Yeah,
there's.
I don't know.
Here's what'll happen: the Panthers will win 2 more stupid games, get the 8th pick, and then they won't be too high. That's the real solution. There you go.
And then they take Stroud right there.
Or maybe Anthony Richardson could potentially figure out how to get into the top 10 if he had a good game against whoever he just played, even though they lost.
Yeah,
because that Florida team sucks.
He couldn't have had a good game. They lost. You know, he's not a winner. It's just like Justin Herbert, man. Just like Justin Herbert.
This is a big college football week coming up, man.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I will be watching Michigan versus OSU. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I will absolutely.
I'm gonna be in Miami, Florida, but I will find time to watch the game.
And you'll be watching Tulane versus Cincinnati, no?
Oh yeah, for sure. yeah.
Friday at noon.
Good Lord! Actually, that is when my flight takes off. Is Friday at noon.
We need Cincinnati.
I'm buying the in-flight Wi-Fi just to keep tabs.
Matt, before we get out of here, what is your prediction for Ohio State?
Me and my dad just spent like half an hour talking about this. So the pro Ohio State way to look at it is that last year Ohio State played a better Michigan team with better pass rushers in bad weather at Michigan and lost by 7 with a terrible defense. The big thing, what is up with Michigan's running back? Is he okay?
I haven't looked at that. Play. It sounds like he's.
If he is not 100%, they're in some trouble. The thing is that like, if the weather is bad, does not bode well for them,
right?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be terrible. 10-mile-per-hour wind, 25% chance of rain. Not too bad.
Yeah.
It comes down to, I mean, like, I think they'll win. I think they'll win. There's so much.
I think so too.
I think they'll win. I think that if they can, I hope Mayan Williams is playing. I think if they can start running the ball well, Michigan is not that big up front defensively. They're not. And if they can start running the ball well and then have Stroud get the ball a little bit quicker, don't let him get under pressure because he's not good at handling that stuff. You've got them defensively. You've got the talent on them. They have no more Hutchinson and who is the other guy that they have no more of that. And it's at Ohio State. Michigan has not been tested super, super seriously against like tough opponents on the road this season. And if the defense can give anything, which they've been a lot better, they're not great, but they've been a lot better this year. The corners really stink, but Michigan's quarterback McCarthy played terrible last game, and he's never played Ohio State. So I like Ohio State. If this was on the road in the snow, I would easily pick Michigan.
Yeah, Corum being banged up is that guy rules. So I think Ohio State's gonna win, and not someone who's paid, especially Michigan. I haven't watched much Michigan this year, but it seems like they're kind of a one. I mean, their quarterback seems talented. I'll say that, but not quite someone who's going to line up in 11 personnel and beat you throwing it all over the yard. So
Michigan quarterbacks are always underwhelming
at home.
It's at, I mean, it's going to be, and they but they must win this one. They cannot lose this one, and then next year it's at Michigan with a new quarterback. They cannot lose this. They have to win this game. Absolutely. So, yep.
McCarthy getting benched for the legend Cade McNamara. I always get them confused. I feel like Michigan has had like the same two guys alternating at quarterback for like 3 years.
They've had
like
they've had like four quarterbacks, or they've had like three quarterbacks in my lifetime. It's like Connor Shaw, or not Connor Shaw. What is it? Something Shea, or was it Shea Patterson?
They had
Shea Patterson, Cade McNamara, and
those are all the same guy.
They're all the same.
Like even when Patterson was there, like McNamara was like a wildcat, like package quarterback, and now like they're flip flopping again with like two new guys who like in their names sound the same. So I'm just like, yeah, they're
They've had the same. Yeah, it's Tom Brady. Every quarter they've just tried to like get Tom Brady back since he left. That's what they've been trying to do. But
anyway,
I think that pretty much
Bennett.
Stetson Bennett.
If Emmanuel Acho was picking quarterbacks, I think you'd take. You could always just go the QB wins route and take select Stetson Bennett.
Never lost, undefeated. But I think that pretty much wraps things up for us. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Spend time with your family if you can. But shut up, Theo. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out Theo's All 22 on Justin Fields. Matt just released a video on college football. It's college football tiers, but is it
I accidentally said the word tiers in there one time, so they named it college football tiers. I was just talking about just like some playoff possibilities, basically going through them.
Okay. Got you. And then, of course, my Madden video comes out Friday. This will also serve as our episode, so there will not be an episode drop on Thursday. We will do a live stream on the AMP app by Amazon tomorrow around 5:30 Eastern. So make sure you download the AMP app, follow Stay Hot, and we'll do a live stream tomorrow. But there will not be an episode release on Thursday. But again, thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.